Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach. Today is Saturday, May 22nd, 2021, and we are opening the NBA playoffs. My favorite weekend of the year. We have four terrific games today and four great games tomorrow. So we have been waiting for this for a long time. Very excited to break this down for you. Going to just preview everything, go through a few thoughts here, and hopefully help our listeners build some winning lineups. It is going to be great, though. It's always a little bit tougher when you just have the one game like we've been dealing with this week with the play-in tournament. Definitely not as really strategic in building and doing some things with your lineup when you have multiple games. So, the other fun factor to this too is we actually have multiple games that all really matter. There's not going to be, 15 guys playing and everybody splitting minutes. I mean, it's playoffs, so everybody's going to get full run and go after it. And this is the best time of the year, and I think the best time to take advantage of winning. And we've been extremely successful here at DFS Coach Talk during the NBA playoffs, and we're expecting this year to be the best of all. So we're ready to attack it. Again, we'll have four games throughout the day, and we're going to provide a main slate lineup, which is all four games. The first one is at 2 o'clock Eastern and all the way until 10:30 Eastern for the last game. So it is a full day of NBA basketball, and we're going to be all over it here. We'd love to have you join us at DFS Coach Talk too. Just jump on dfscoachtalk.com, and you can see all of our memberships there, including a 3-day pass for $10 if you just want to try us out for these opening days of the NBA playoffs. All right, let's dive right in to game number one. It is the 2 o'clock game, and it is Miami versus Milwaukee. The Bucks are favored by 4.5, and it's a 227 over under, which there's a 229, a 227.5, and a 227. So we have three almost identical over unders. The only one that's lower on the card is 218.5 for Dallas Clippers. So something to keep in mind there. It's not like we have a 240 game mixed in here or a 207 game. So that evens that out slightly. As far as injuries go in this game, Teague is probable for Milwaukee, but he's not, probable probably to get many minutes for sure. And Antetokounmpo is out for Milwaukee. No, it's not Giannis. It's his brother Thanos or whatever his name is, the hustle guy that comes in. It's not Giannis though. So hopefully none of our listeners think that Giannis is out, but his brother is. He is not going to be available for this game. Pace, interesting here. Completely two diverse opposites. 29th for Miami, so second to lowest, and the second fastest in Milwaukee. So definitely, Miami will certainly try to slow it down. Spoelstra will get them playing half-court offense as much as they possibly can. Milwaukee's going to try to get out, transition, use their defense to quicken the offensive side. So that'll be a battle throughout this entire series. As far as defensive efficiency, both solid, 7th for Miami and 10th for Milwaukee, so they can both get after it on that side. As far as offensive efficiency, Miami is just labored around the middle of the pack all year. A lot of that's been because they've had a ton of guys missing. Butler's missed a lot of games. So they're sitting at 17th. Milwaukee, on the other hand, has been a little bit more consistent, had to deal with a little bit less injuries, and they're 6th. So that is certainly something to keep in mind here as well. Miami finished the season at 40-32. Milwaukee at 46 and 26. And the probable lineups in this first game are Nunn, Robinson, Butler, Ariza, and Bam. And then for Milwaukee, the same group: Holiday, DiVincenzo, Middleton, Giannis, and Lopez. So this really is an interesting game. I think this should be a great series. I think it can go either way. I think Miami certainly is going to give them all that they can handle. Miami's the defending Eastern Conference champion as well. So not a layup, if you will, of a game or a series for Milwaukee. As far as who we're going to focus on here, I mean, the buy-ups are going to be plenty here in these with these 8 teams. I mean, we've got, along with Giannis, we have Luka in here. We have Paul George and Kawhi. We have Harden, Irving, and Durant, Tatum, Lillard, and the Joker. So we've got just an absolute boatload of super high-priced guys that we have to choose from. So the first question in this game, obviously, is Giannis, a direction that we want to go. For me, I'm not going to go there for the simple fact that I really do believe Miami will try to slow it down as much as possible. And I think, between Ariza and Adebayo, I think that they'll at least try to keep Giannis within reasonable check. So not going to put all my chips in on game one. There are some guys here that are coming in pretty hot. Kendrick Nunn's been playing well, but he may get Drew Holiday defense, which is not pleasant. And then you've got the matchup with Jimmy Butler and Chris Middleton, which should be a fantastic matchup. Butler definitely a shutdown guy, so not real high on Middleton in this one. And then, as far as the bigs go, I think Bam's athleticism could be a difficulty for Brook to guard. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Giannis on Bam some of this game also. As far as the first game of the day, it's my least favorite of the 4, believe it or not. I just think that, there's going to be a lot of feeling out of the 2 teams here in the first game. You've got, a lot at stake, obviously, for both sides. But I think Miami's really going to try to slow it down, defend, make it a half-court game. And I think it may be a little bit lower scoring, the 227 number that's out there. There's a few guys you can look at possibly that should get big minutes. Trevor Ariza's a pretty good value. And then on the Milwaukee side, if you want to look at going really value, you've got DiVincenzo, but I think Drew Holiday is a great play here. He's played well coming into the playoffs here. I think the combination of point guards between Nunn, Hero, Dragic, those guys that will be in there, none of them are great defenders. So the one spot that has been a little bit suspect for Miami are point guards going against them. So Holiday's my favorite guy out of this game, and then possibly look at a little bit of value as well. All right. Game 2, it is at 4:30 Eastern. It is the Dallas Mavericks and the LA Clippers, and a little cheer from Dirk as we're getting ready for the playoffs here in Dallas. It is the Clippers by 5.5, and again, the lowest over-under on the board, 218.5. And I want to thank our presenting sponsor, BetUS.com.pa, for these up-to-date odds as well. All right, as far as injuries go, we've got Redick out for Dallas. Kleba is back. He's probable. I've read he's going to play, so he should be the first big off the bench for the Mavs. For the Clippers, it's just Coffee. He is questionable, and he's questionable to even get in for a cup of coffee, really. So bad joke. Anyway, he's not worried about him. So the Clippers are healthy, which is not great for the Mavericks, but it should make for a great series. everybody's picking the Clippers. I love the fact that Mavs are rallying around being a fairly big underdog here. And they played the Clippers well this year. So I think it's going to be a better series than a lot of people expect, for sure. Um, as far as pace goes, here's the issue: 25th and 28th. So these two teams are not, get up and boogie here, where there's not going to be a lot of pushing the ball. You're going to have a lot of situations where George and Kawhi, are in ISOs. Same thing with Dallas with Luka and Porzingis. So, both teams, I'm sure, have defensive schemes they're going to set up, to defend the other. I expect Paul George to probably start on Luka, and we'll see as far as Kawhi goes, or what the lineup is going to be for sure for the Clippers. They have gone with a few different lineups throughout this second half. As far as defensive efficiency, Dallas is 17th. Clippers are 8th. So definite advantage there for the Clippers. And then, the one thing, though, even though the pace is really poor in this series, you've got the 9th most efficient offense in Dallas and the 2nd most efficient offense in the Clippers. So, they will take advantage of their possessions. They will have probably more success than a lot of teams do, even though the pace and the amount of possessions will be less. It will even out a little bit because of the strong efficiency there. So as far as this series goes, and this first game, certainly it's an important first game to set the tone. It's a rematch of last year. The Mavericks did not have a couple of their key guys for that series in the bubble last fall, with Brunson and KP being out. So I think that will help. Clippers won the series, but it was tight. And I expect this one, could be very similar. As far as the starters for the 42 and 30 Mavericks, it looks like it's going to be Luka, Hardaway, Finney-Smith, Porzingis, and Powell. For the 47 and 25 Clippers, Pat Bev, Paul George, Kawhi, Marcus Morris, and Zubats. So a couple of things here. We know we've targeted bigs against Dallas. I think Zubats gets a good run, and I think he's a good play. He's a good value as well. So he's high on my board for this game. And as far as the Mavericks go, the pay-ups, where are we going to take them? What are we going to look at? I'm not going to go to Luka tomorrow right off the bat. I think with some of these other big names coming up, I think I'd rather, spend there. And then also, the value isn't going to be as big and what we got used to in the second half of the season, when so many guys were playing, so many were sitting. So you'd get a value play in there that would make everything work. We're not going to have that luxury here. And you don't want to go to bench guys that are going to get, 15 minutes, or it's going to knock you right out. So you got to be pickier, and it's definitely tougher with the salaries. So I'm not going to go directly with Luka. Now, on the Clippers side, you're going to probably see Finney-Smith guarding Kawhi. So I respect Finney-Smith's defense. I think that will be, a decent enough matchup. Where the problem comes in is with Paul George. Since Hardaway has beaten out Josh Richardson for the starting spot, Richardson was sort of the go-to perimeter defender for the Mavericks, and Hardaway is way more efficient offensively, but not on defense. So Paul George, I don't consider as a huge pay up. He's not as expensive as those top, 4 or 5 guys, but he's the guy that I'm targeting here. So the Clippers side, initially, I'm going with George and Zubats. I'm not afraid to have a couple of guys in there from that side of the ball, even though this, over-under is a little bit lower. On the Dallas side, I'm a Mavs fan, but I'm a DFS professional, and I don't like the Mavs in this matchup right now. I do think they can hang in there, but I think it's going to be a team effort. Luka's price is high. He's going to be defended pretty well. Hardaway's been shooting the ball well, and Finney Smith, has been knocking down threes. Porzingis is the wild card. He's expensive, and he's been known in clutch games to lay an egg on occasion, and sometimes step up. I don't feel comfortable spending that kind of salary there. And then it's going to, the Dallas bench is going to be in there a lot too. With Powell, there'll be Cauley Stein, Brunson, as I mentioned, Richardson. So, for me, I'm looking more for a couple of key Clippers here and then move on. Sorry, Dirk, didn't mean to upset you. All right, before we get to the last two, very quickly, we do have a special right now that is really our best deal of the season in honor of the NBA playoffs starting, and it starts today. The offer is it's a 2-month membership with Coach Talk, and it goes all the way until the end of the NBA playoffs, which are July 22nd. So it's 2 months for $111. And when you join Coach Talk, remember, you get everything that we put out there. You don't just get the NBA playoffs, even though this is the NBA playoff special package. You get all of our baseball, which we absolutely smashed tonight, by the way. We hit like 7 home runs. MLB's been hot. You get that. You get all of our PGA golf, which we're also very excited going into this weekend with the PGA, one of the majors being played, and we're right in the thick of it there. So you get everything that we offer right now. It's basketball, baseball, and golf. And then same thing if you end up extending, and football is included with that. We focus very strongly on those 4 major sports. We feel that we put some of the best content and lineups out there in the industry. And with your membership, again, you get all of our content, our Discord, which we have the best members out there without question. And, you get all of that, and it's a perfect time to jump in. If you want to, like I say, dip your toes in the water for the 3-day pass, you're welcome to do that. And then you can always, buy up to the NBA package with hopefully the strong success that we have this weekend. Last thing is you go to dfscoachtalk.com for that offer, and you can check everything out right there. Also, if you're going to be betting a lot on the playoffs, go to betus.com.pa. Sign up for the first time there with the promo code COACHTALK, all one word, no space. Deposit up to $149, and with that, you will get the $149 to play at BetUS, and you get a free 2-month membership at Coach Talk. So it's a great deal if you're going to be betting on the NBA playoffs anyway. You get that 2-month free membership with us here at Coach Talk. If you have any questions, you can check us out on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk. I am at JOESARVADI. My playing partner here, Mr. Andrew Hansen, is at Language Olympic. All right, let's get into these last 2 games, and it's the evening games. We have an 8 o'clock Eastern, Boston versus Brooklyn. Should be a very exciting game. Slightly highest over-under on the board at 229. And we have Brooklyn as the biggest favorite on the day at -8. So that should be very interesting. Only 2 guys to mention. They're both probable. Robert Williams for Boston and Landry Shamet for the Nets. They're both expected to play. So it's full gear here. We finally get to see playoff basketball with the 3 studs, Harden, Irving, and Durant, to see how they're going to step up. And they're going against, obviously, a wounded Boston team with no Jaylen Brown and, a couple other dings here and there. So it should be interesting. The question is, can Boston keep it close? They are 36-36. And with a probable lineup of Walker, Smart, Fournier, Tatum, and Williams. Brooklyn came in at 48-24, which is pretty impressive considered the 3 big studs only played 8 games together in the regular season. Harden, Irving, Brown, Durant, and Griffin. Blake Griffin at center. Amazing. That is the probable lineup. The question is, again, we'll probably see some DeAndre Jordan, maybe some Claxton, Jeff Green. They've just got a big mixture at the bigs, and not sure, which one of them is really going to work out for them. So we'll see if that's something that can Boston can tackle. As far as pace, Boston's 20th, Brooklyn 11th. So, a little bit of tug of war there, but pretty average. Same thing with the defensive efficiency. Boston's 15th, right in the middle of the pack. Brooklyn 21st, not good. They're not a good defensive team, but they did improve a little bit as the season went on. And I think that's why they're starting Bruce Brown as well, to really try to fortify some of that defense. As far as offensive efficiency, Boston is 11th, which is solid. Again, some of that was built up with Jaylen Brown as part of that lineup. And Brooklyn finished number one, most efficient offense in the league. Lot to handle for Boston. I'm very interested to see where this one is going to go. I think a guy that's going to be highly owned, and he deserves to be, is Jason Tatum. Let's just face it, he's playing great. If he's a little chalky, he's a little chalky. I like him as well. I mean, I had stayed very strong with, if Brown or Tatum are out, play the other guy. And Tatum has been phenomenal since Brown went down. And Brooklyn, I don't think they're going to have really a stopper for him. And they play at such a pace with such an additional amount of possessions. I think Tatum, if he doesn't have a phenomenal game, they're going to get smashed. So I think he's safer money for one of the pay-ups. And again, I focus most of my play on cash games and single entry. So, as far as those go, I think Tatum's just really necessary here. And really his floor is probably higher than most, and his ceiling is certainly as high as any of these guys, because of really the fact that he's got to take over so much of the usage offensively. The only other guy you could consider would be Kemba Walker. He has been scoring very well, and he has picked it up since Brown went down. The two biggest bumps on the team have been Walker and Tatum. So Walker's in play. His price is not where I was hoping it would be, but those are the two guys I think you can look at. Don't trust Robert Williams just because he's been so dinged up and his minutes have been limited, and you can't afford any minutes limits with any of your guys. Other than that, that's really the Boston side for me. On Brooklyn's side, what's where do you go? Harden, Irving, Durant? Do you load up with two of them? Do you choose which one you think is going to get it done? Or do you pass on all of them because they're going to share the ball, and any of them could go off, or any of them could just have an average game? Here's the thing: where's the defense? What are the matchups going to be? And Boston, this is a nightmare for them, because I'm not sure. Smart is their best defender. Are you going to put him on Harden or Irving? I mean, if whichever one you put him on, it's going to be okay. He'll be able to hold his own, but the other guy's going to go bonkers. I mean, Kemba Walker or Evan Fournier to guard them, that is not going to work. So, the two guys that I'm looking at really are Harden and Irving, as opposed to Durant. I think Durant, obviously, in my opinion, probably the best player on the floor in this series, but he does get Tatum defense more than likely. And they're going to really be shadowing him as much as they can inside. Now, again, Brooklyn it's going to be so impossible for anybody to guard him with these three megastars. But for me, it's Harden and Irving that I'm considering right now. And I think, Kemba's going to get exposed with that, and some of their guys off the bench as well. So, I'm looking more at that direction, and then with Tatum on the other side. So I do want to have some correlation. Very likely will be Tatum Harden or Tatum Irving for me in this game. Secondary guys, there is a just massive load of off the bench guys that split minutes. Nobody really jumps out to me off the bench for either team. And I don't think there are a lot of safe plays with those guys, if you're playing cash games or single entry. All right, fourth game and final game. Very interesting one as well. It's the Portland Trail Blazers and the Denver Nuggets. This is a 10:30 Eastern game. Denver's only favored by 1, which is very interesting. It was a pick 'em earlier today, so I thought that was a lot of respect for Portland and a little disrespect for Denver, so that's interesting. The 227.5 over under, solid number. And you've got a couple of guys here that are out for Denver, with Barton and Dozier still remaining out, which Barton definitely hurts them. And then Rivers is questionable. He's the only questionable guy that it's meaningful for us to know what's going on, because he's a probable starter for them. So that is news that you're going to want to follow with us throughout the day tomorrow in Discord. I'm sure we'll get that information as the day progresses. And, if we have some plays from this game, we will, if we look to go with Rivers, which isn't a guarantee by any stretch, we would create some pivots so that when that news comes through, we can do a late swap. But, that's the one question mark that still remains on the slate. Other than that, Portland doesn't show anybody in their list. We know Zach Collins never made it back for the year, but that's it. They're ready to go. So the probable lineup for the Portland Trail Blazers, 42 and 30, are Lillard, McCollum, Powell, Covington, and Nurkic. And then for Denver, 47 and 25, it's Campazzo, possibly Rivers, Porter, Gordon, and the Joker. So let's look at a couple of stat comparisons here. Here's the one thing that's interesting is you've got not great pace. 19th for Portland, 26th for Denver. So, fairly slow pace. Definitely look to set it up, run plays. So that's not conducive to those additional possessions that we would like. But here's the other thing. The combination of the defense in this game is the worst of the 4 games, which, again, there goes, some reason why this 227.5 number is pretty high. You've got Portland is the second worst defensive efficient team in the league. And here they are in the playoffs, which is a tough feat. Denver's 14th, right in the middle of the pack. They haven't been explosive defensively. They really haven't. They have had some flat games, where they've given up decent amount of points. So, those two aspects, the defensive efficiency ratings for both of these teams, does entice you to play them. And then with this category, offensive efficiency, 5th and 7th, Portland and Denver, respectively. So they're solid on offense. We know, Lillard, McCollum are extremely explosive. We know Nurkic and Kanter coming in for him can score a lot inside. Norman Powell's been a really good, inclusion to that lineup for Portland. And then for Denver, not having Jamal Murray, we didn't even mention him because he's out, but not having him has been very tough blow for them. And then Barton's out. So, when you have to go with Campazzo and Rivers as your starting backcourt in the playoffs, that, again, that's part of the reason that this spread is basically a pick 'em, because they got to make up for it. But they do have the guys that can. Porter Jr. is a star. He's playing great. And then, of course, you have the MVP, the Joker. And that big question is, can Nurkic, who was the understudy to the Joker in Denver, how can he control him? And then we know Kanter's not a good defender. So the Joker really is in a great spot here. And if Denver's going to win this game or the series, it's going to have to be MVP Joker that shows up and dominates because, I don't know. Lillard McCollum backcourt compared to Campazzo and Rivers might be just a little bit tilted one way there. So there's a lot that needs to be made up from that side. So as far as plays that I'm looking at here in this game, I'm tempted to look at the Joker. I don't know, if I'm going to be able to afford him. If I do tank on playing any of the stars from Brooklyn, then I could go there. But his usage, it's sort of like the Tatum situation here. He's got to do it. I mean, he's got to score. He's got to rebound. He's got to do all his stuff. And there's not a lot of sharing going on. Porter's going to get his, but that's about it. So, that puts the Joker high on my priority list. And I'll see what I can do salary wise to fit that. If not, Porter's the secondary choice, the obvious choice for me for Denver. And then, not going to go with Gordon. He's been very up and down, mostly down since he's gone there. Statistically, you just really can't trust him. He's a guy that could break the slate. There's no doubt he's got the ability to do that. But I just don't think that that's going to happen, especially with Covington defense. Covington's a really good defender. I think that he'll check Gordon. So, on the Portland side, unfortunately, I'm not going to have enough salary for Lillard or McCollum. I'd prefer Lillard for sure. I think he steps up in big games and certainly in the playoffs. He's gonna look to blow it out. So Lillard would be my choice from the Portland side. I don't think I'll be able to afford him salary wise though. There are a few guys you can look at for value here. I think. I don't trust the Campazzo Rivers backcourt because you are going to get Morris and a lot of rotation of some guys sort of just trying to fill the gaps there. But I think on the Portland side, you can get Powell at a decent enough price that, he may be able to slide in there and make a lineup. Covington is another guy that, really can do well for his salary. And then, Nurkic or Canner, both of them are in play. Obviously, Canner's much cheaper, but I don't think they're bad plays either. So, the key is going to be trying to find value here. And I've mentioned, one or two guys on each team, but it's not the standouts like, okay, here we go. We got a $3,200 guy that's going to play 35 minutes or 30 minutes. He's automatic value guy. We don't have any of that. It's the playoffs. This is the real deal. And, you've got to try to balance out the salary here and not have to reach too deep. Because if you do try to play a Monte Morris or, name anybody that's coming off the bench that could get 15 minutes and 10 fantasy points, it sinks you. So finding that balance is key. I do think there are guys throughout the slate that you can go to help even it out. But, it's going to be hard building. I'll just warn you. I mean, I've been working on a lineup all day and, trying to fit in somewhere where I can get Tatum and the Joker and Drew Holiday and some of these other guys in there and then, filter it with some secondary guys that are still, I expect to do very well, like the Kembas, etc., and Porters. And then find those few values. And like I've mentioned here before, I mean, you're going to have to roster a DiVincenzo or, a Hardaway or somebody of that nature. Maybe, there'll be some people that go Bruce Brown, a Covington, a Cantor. Those guys are all guys that, will be key to making these lineups because you can't fade all the studs here. It's just, you can't catch up to that many points. Even if you try a medium build, and it doesn't have any of those big studs we talked about, it's still a tough chore. So I love it. This is what I play DFS for, these type of slates where you really have to work at it. You got to look at every matchup. And we'll be talking about that all day tomorrow in Discord. We'll be sharing that with our members. We have a weekly meeting with our members, 11 a.m. Eastern, for the members that are listening in. And we'll talk about a lot of this stuff, strategy, builds, what we're looking to do, who we're looking to fade, and all of that will come into play without question. So we'd love to have you join us. We will, taking new members all weekend. So jump in and we'll get you in Discord real quickly and you can catch up on all the information that we're sharing with our members. So I think that is it. That is the big 4 games for this Saturday. I will be back again tomorrow to go over the other 4 games for the Sunday slate. It'll be pretty much identical to today. So I'll be getting that out earlier like I did with this one so that we have a chance to listen to it, because it's tougher for everyone when we have these 2 p.m. Eastern starts as opposed to the evening one. So hopefully you have time to check it out. I wanted it to be thorough, but yet keep it brief enough that everybody has a chance to listen. So really do appreciate all of you. Thank you for listening in, and hope this helps. Check us out again. If you're watching this on YouTube, please take a second, hit the thumbs up, the subscribe button, and the little alert button in the top that lets you know when our podcast posts, because we will have a lot of these podcasts like this one. It's going to post like at 1:30 a.m., stuff like that. So for those that are up or work a third shift or whatever, if you hit that little alarm alert button, you'll know when our podcast posts. So again, we really appreciate those thumbs ups and subscribes. And also we have contests going on. Check out our Twitter feed at DFS Coach Talk, in honor of the playoffs. So keep an eye on those as well. All right. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful playoff day on Saturday. And we'll be back with you tomorrow when we look to crush it again in NBA DFS.